Good morning, everyone. Morning to planet Earth out there. How are you all doing this morning? Lovely morning here. My name is Mark, and Becky's on camera. This is Wild Earth Safari, and I hope you're going to enjoy the morning with us. We're going to be going out and looking for some things, and we've already got a plan. We're already doing something based on some news that came in this morning about what was happening on the camera last night. Evidently a lot of activity. Looks like there was a leopard around. Sounded like, I believe, it was catching guinea fowl, and a lot of commotion. I decided to come onto the open area near camp, and on the road, we're right on the southern end now. Just to my left, your right, is Philemon's Dip, and we're going to go down towards the dam and see what we can find there as far as footprints, feathers, who knows what we might find down there. And I'm just looking at tracks. There's been a lot of hyena activity. It looks like hyena were running up and down here on the open area quite a bit last night as well, and they must have been chasing something. There were tracks that could have been a leopard running in soft sand. The toes are splayed so much, and it is such an indistinct track because the animal was running. It's very hard to tell, but it is a lot rounder than a hyena's track, which is more pointed. So I'm thinking a leopard was maybe even being chased by hyena. We're at this junction here, and there are a lot of tracks here. There's rhino tracks coming onto the open area. There are giraffe tracks. There are baboon tracks. A lot of impala tracks. Mark tracks. Very fresh tracks from Mark. Don't want to follow those. And of course, all the hyena coming up from Philemon's Dip. But no cat tracks here yet. But we'll go down to the dam. We'll go and see. We had a lot of cloud this morning. In fact, there was some very thick cloud. And from what I could see, just with the little bit of dawn light, I guess you could say, that was coming in, because the moon would have set already. It's dissipated, but it's starting to build up. And it's starting to look like it might even get heavier towards full moon. And I've known it, even though it's the middle of the dry season, many times in the past I've known it to rain on the July full moon. Of course, we can't go by weather patterns anymore. Ain't no such thing. So, what do we have? Herman in final control, and Herman will be sending me questions. And perhaps comments. Anything sent in from you, the viewer. Elephant tracks too. But then you saw those 4 bulls, lovely bulls, and I would love to be able to see when we've seen them before. I'll have to get some still shots from the HD cam, but I've got to be able to, got to find the photographs to compare them with. Somehow hidden on my hard drive. Morning stations, any vehicles out here?
Yeah, what about you?
I'm fine, and you?
Yeah, but this
Okay, sure, you got a busy car, I'm going to check at the dam. Are you leaving from Voyeurs or Gallagher? Still go away birds that are shouting down here. Good morning to California. Still on Monday in California. We're in Tuesday already. Hello Jim, Lucille, California. When does the rainy season start? Well, we could perhaps get rain in September. I mean, I've known in spring. I mean, theoretically, spring starts in September, going into the equinox, and we should get a little sprinkling of rain, but the real good rains only really start November, December. October can be a bit of a dry month, but I mean, that's traditionally what has happened in the past. There's a huge cloud in the west there. These clouds are getting bigger now. We can't really go by what has happened in the past. I don't think anywhere on the planet. This is a contentious issue, the whole climate thing, because you have to take into account we've been studying weather for a couple of hundred years. We've been recording it for maybe a few hundred at the most. And well, to be honest, weather patterns might take thousands of years, or there might be things that happen with weather, and sure, we can study things like ice core samples from Antarctica. We can do all sorts of studies. Dendrochronology, another, taking core samples from 1,000-year-old trees to get an idea of what sort of patterns there were over 1,000 years or so. But essentially, we want things to stay the same as humans. We're the most resistant creatures to change. And so we look for patterns and we look for consistencies in our lives. When nature and the planet and the universe and everything else about it is so random. So, generally speaking, our rainy season is the summer, our summer. For some of you who don't really know how that works, it's not that Africa has summer and America has winter. It's northern and southern hemisphere, the way the earth tilts, and that one guinea fowl feather, but actually a couple of feathers, but that's more just from guinea fowl feeding rather than a guinea fowl being caught. Down in Chicago, there's a hippo sound asleep in the pond. Well, not anymore. Texan is there. There are a lot of feathers here, but you know, this is a tree that the guinea fowl sleep in, so there would naturally be a lot of feathers here. Let me investigate a little further. I think these feathers are just, most of them are just from natural molting, because they would be sleeping up here, and the ground around here is littered with droppings and guinea fowl feathers.
Coming in this big tree.
I just saw the top of that jackalberry moving quite heavily, like there's something, maybe a monkey. Can't see. We can take a closer look. Monkeys. Yeah, I see them jumping around now. But they're now climbing to the top, so we'll see. They've heard the go-away bird shouting. So they're now at the top of the tree coming to have a look. At what might be around. Monkeys have got pretty keen eyesight, and they're not shy to shout at a predator.
Morning, mobile station. Yeah, morning, Paul. Just one Rudolph Road at South Road. I'm on Central heading east. I'll check my energy power to turn on. Okay, give me thanks. And I'm going to check east to the land and come west. Then carry that time. From last night, they went to Manulete. Maybe they'll enter kind of north once they enter the park break. So maybe they still down there somewhere there. Heading with something.
What you looking at, monkeys? Where? Show me. They're looking up this way. Rather than across the dam. I still haven't yet found any tracks here. morning to Texas. Morning, Shireen. Wanting to know if there are any albino animals on the reserve. Very difficult answering that question because I'm not too sure whether you just mean here or whether you mean the whole area. There might be within the Kruger. The Kruger being 7-8 million acres, it's very hard. I don't know what's in Kruger, I don't know what's in other parts of the reserve, but here in this particular area that we cover, because I can only really speak for this area, I haven't seen any albino animals. I'm sure they do occur from time to time, but I've never seen an albino animal. I don't know how long they would survive though in this African sun without pigment. So I think someone was saying that this leopard climbed this dead tree and caught something. Nothing tracks. Oh, big bull hippo. Whatever may have happened here at the dam last night, well, there's no sign of it now. Oh, interesting. Some elephant up on Zoe's Road, but Ephraim was first saying there's a big bull on Zoe's Road, now he's saying there's a herd there, so I wonder if that bull's not maybe going to meet up with the herd. Well, we can make our way in that direction in a while. We're going to go and have a look up on Vubu Road. Make a loop and come back again this way. If a leopard's around and it's moving around, we might be a bit lucky in a few minutes' time. For the time being though, not much to go on from last night's commotion. Later, hippo. Bless you. Hyena tracks. Carmela in Montreal, good morning to you. Welcome to our drive this morning. I couldn't get this question asked by a lot of new viewers. I never really know what to say. In fact, I don't really know what to say, period. Just, have you ever been in a dangerous situation and what did you do? When you live amongst wild animals and you spending amount of time with them as I do, there are bound to be moments when you get into a sticky situation, especially because I spend so much time on foot. Excuse me a sec. Basically you act on the merit of the circumstances, depending on what animal it is in. I've lived in places where I've had elephant in camp 24 hours a day, and I've had to walk guests from their accommodations to the dining and lounge areas, or I've had to step in when guests are trying to push a camera into an elephant's face and an elephant gets angry. A lot of times guests doing silly things and I've had to step in because people can be blissfully ignorant of the consequences to their actions, and I think you find that anywhere in the world. I mean, there are places in Japan where monkeys, some of the primates, get out of hand because people feed them. There are places in the States where bears get out of hand because people feed them or try and do things to maybe get a better picture. There are always going to be circumstances when you've got humans and wild animals interacting that you're going to have to make the peace. And there have been times when you've been tracking animals and you find them. It's going to always be sticky situations, especially with lion. A lot of the time when you're tracking lion on foot and you're off-road and you're in the thick bush and you're more or less in the direction of the tracks, when you're going through grasses like this, the signs of there having been a cat are very, very subtle, even though a lion's a pretty heavy cat. You don't always see flattened grasses. You don't always see, or you don't see a footprint, that's for sure. So you follow flattened grasses as much as you can, and you carry on in the general direction, hoping to find an area of open sand to maybe pick up the tracks again. And suddenly you'll go through a very thick area, and suddenly this lion will be there, and it'll lift its head, or it'll give you a little bit of a start by rushing towards you for a few yards and then stopping and growling and spitting and flat-eared, flat to the ground, tail swishing from side to side rapidly, just like an angry cat. And in those moments you've got to stop, you've got to stand dead still for a moment, you've got to let the cat relax. As long as the cat can see you're not coming closer and you don't mean any harm, you start backing off. You don't turn your back on the cat, but you just start. Once you can see there's a little bit of a relaxing posture, either the ears lift slightly or the tail slows slightly, or the lion will then maybe go down onto its chest instead of being ready to spring. There's subtle signs that can tell you that it's okay to start backing off. And once you start backing off, sometimes I've had the cat do second and third rush at us, but once you start backing off, generally they let you go. But I mean, most of the time, tracking cats, the first time you see them is when they get up and they're running away, because they would rather not have a confrontation. I remember once tracking one of the biggest elephants in Kruger at the time. It was back in the 80s along the Sabi River. It used to have 4, sometimes even up to 8, what we call askaris, young bulls surrounding him. Young bulls that would carve a path for him and keep him safe, act as his ears and his guards. And it was sometimes impossible to get to see him because of these young bulls would get a little aggressive with us. But when he was on the river, there was no way to see him other than to get out of the vehicle. And in those days, there was still a Kruger Park fence. And the only thing to do was to get out of the vehicle and climb through the fence to go down to the Sabi River and to walk along the Sabi River. And we had a path. We'd actually cut a trail along the edge of the river so we could take guests for walks. We had a good few miles of Sabi River frontage. And on the other side of the river, of course, was Kruger, but we still had the fence for some reason. It was to stop mostly buffalo, I think. That's another story. Anyway, I remember I was on my hands and knees this one morning, climbing under bushes, trying to get through the really thick patch of bush. And I was at the base of this very, very heavy crown. It was almost like a big round bush, very low to the ground. Lion tracks. And as I was coming through the other side of the bush, I was sort of maybe 2 feet away from his tusk. And this elephant had such big tusks that he had to lift his head to keep them off the ground. I mean, they were easily 7 feet long. They were huge. It was one of the longest tuskers. I wonder when these lion tracks were here. I didn't see them before, but there's nothing much on the road itself, only in patches where there are no cars that have been driving. Obviously not very fresh, but have been fairly well preserved in that soft sand. And that was very tricky because, of course, at that moment that I saw his tusk, he saw me. And I had to climb a tree, and I can remember I was in the tree, but I was still head height with him. And he lifted his head and he looked up at me, and it's probably one of the most amazing moments I've ever had with an elephant. Having this majestic bull. His name was Mantleve. He was the most magnificent bull I've ever had the pleasure of having the company of. He used to come into my garden. Ooh. A little bit crisp. Then there was a time I was in Okavango Delta. I think I've told this one before to some of you who might be older viewers, or rather longer standing. I don't mean older age, I mean older length of time. I was in Okavango, one of the really magic moments with a leopard. I've had lots. But it was one moment in my life when roller shouting. No, with the noise of things in my ear and the engine, sometimes it's hard to distinguish sound and where it's coming from. There's a lilac-breasted roller here that was alarming and coming. I'm only going to get a silhouette of it. I'm not going to get much of a view of its colours. Texan coming. Oh, okay.
3, 2.
Radio's dead. You can see a little bit of the colour. The lilac-breasted roller. Insect eaters. They've got a beak very much like a shrike. A little bit of a curved tip to it for pulling apart their prey, but they also will eat small mammals. They will also eat small reptiles. I've seen a roller eat a small snake. I've seen a roller eat big solifuges, which are sun spiders, bigger than their heads. Penny, I believe yesterday, was saying that her photograph in a competition of wild dog was beaten by a picture of a roller eating a mouse. Very interesting. They're not that big. I mean, they're not quite even as big as a dove, but they are quite avid or they're killers, hunters. Don't know what it's shouting at. Might be another roller invading its territory. Someone looking for me. And I was just wondering if anybody saw Ngala Mkhonto on Mvubu Road, just where it meets Ripples of Katla and Tongweti Dam. Yaga? Yeah, sort of, but it doesn't look very fresh. I was just wondering if anyone saw that maybe yesterday, unless it is from last night. Okay, copy. Those lion tracks were seen before, not very fresh. Didn't think they were too fresh, based on no tracks where the cars drive. That's one of the shows of telling. Interesting birds flying above us. Oh, there's a Nyala bull crossing the road. Stop. in the road, Mr. Bull, Mr. Nyala. Catch his tail. The two birds that flew overhead aren't going to help me find anything today because I can't go to where they came from, but they're crowned plovers or lapwings that live on an open area. There must be an open area to the north of us, and they're ground dwellers, as are most lapwings and plovers. But when there's something on their grassy patch, they fly pretty high, calling and shouting and alarming, which those two were doing. Normally an indicator of something wandering around that they don't want to be there for. Smells a bit damp down here. Maybe just the dew. Chagra running along. Oh, he's gone. Running along the road. Oh, he was trying to stop me. Excuse me, doves. Excuse me, doves. Try that again. Excuse me, doves. They're just flying and landing on the road again. They'll get the message eventually. Yes. Assistance pays. Assistance mate now. Oh, good. There we go. Emerald spotted wood doves. Who's been in the road? Pretty hard to tell. Bushbuck, bushbuck. We don't see them much. There's a little bushbuck ram I wanted to stop before just to get a glimpse of him. I was hoping to get him, but he's just now, as you can see, he's like a smaller version of a Nyala. He doesn't have the stripes, not as dark as the Nyala bull. There's not as much of a difference. Let's see if we can catch up with him before he goes into the riverbed. Not as much of a stark difference between the bushbuck ram and the bushbuck ewe, the males and the females, as much as there is with the Nyala. But this is the third member of this family of antelope that we get. What we call the spiral horned antelope. There's several throughout Africa. We're lucky we get 3 of the spiral horned antelopes here in the Kruger. Bushbuck, Nyala and Kudu. And you'll notice the bushbuck looks more like the Nyala than a Kudu. Here he is, just behind that guarri bush. Hopefully we can get to see him. There's a little bit of a white ridge along his back. But you can see his horns very similar to that of the Nyala. I also heard something. He heard something in the riverbed and I also heard something. A bit of a mixed feeder, browser and somewhat of a grazer. But where he is now, that is bushbuck habitat, and that's why we don't see them very much, because they live in this thick stuff. We hear them barking a lot because all the spiral horned antelopes have this alarm bark. It's some people who hear it for the first time think it's a dog, but it's a single loud gruff bark, and obviously gets deeper the larger the animal. So the bushbuck is a little bit higher pitched than the kudu, which is a very deep bah. Very loud too. So, the little bushbuck, Tragelaphus scriptoceros, I think. Scriptoceros. I forget. Tragelaphus, Tragelaphidae. Melissa was from Washington State. Morning, Melissa. Do we have any tortoises or turtles here? Well, turtles, no. We've got a long way to go to see turtles. They're in the ocean. We do have tortoises and terrapins, though. Tortoises are pretty much dormant at the moment. Although if we get some moisture, if this does turn into rain in a few days' time, and we get some warm temperatures, you might see tortoises out a little bit. But generally they'll stay hidden until the wet season is approaching, and then you know that there's going to be rain when you see tortoises moving around, because they pick up the atmospheric pressure changes very easily, and they start moving around before a rain, especially before the first rain. And we have in the water, in the freshwater lakes, dams, rivers, we have terrapins, a few species of terrapins. We might actually see 1 or 2 now when we go back across the dam. We're going to go back across the dam. I want to go and see if I can find these elephant, because there's some elephant up on Zoe's Road. I'd like to try and catch up with them. So, that entire firebreaker we've just come across on, this was a cut line. I just got a message, by the way. Firebreaker's going to be burnt today. Tomorrow we're going to see a bit of a blackened area, and that'll be just a firebreak. It's important to have them. Outage here, and had to, of course, means having to reboot everything. Get everything up and running. But we're back. And there's our heron resting on the Stichosaurus. And a hippo. Only one hippo here today that I can see, at any rate. Only one that I can see. Right, let's continue our quest. Whoever's zoomy this morning, keep your eyes and ears open. Let us know if there are any alarm calls or anything. Yeah, goodbye, hippo. Aren't any feathers here as though a guinea fowl was eaten here. Where that leopard was seen. Hello, Jody in New Mexico. That's interesting. Jody's saying there are two Jodys in New Mexico. I wonder if somebody else is just using Jody in New Mexico's name, or if we do have two Jodys in New Mexico. But thanks, Jody in New Mexico, clarifying how to distinguish between the two of you. But I think I've got an idea of what questions Jody in New Mexico asks as opposed to Jody in New Mexico. What I'll do when I get back, I'll have a look at email addresses, and then I'll trace the IP address and see if it really is Jody, New Mexico and Jody in New Mexico. This radio is terrible. Because there's nothing happening elsewhere. That means it's a good chance of things happening here. But I think it's generally quiet. It's generally quiet at the moment. Time of the year, perhaps. Cold temperatures. Yes. So, where was I? Yvonne. was Yvonne asking, Herman? Hello, Yvonne. Interesting that you've been going through some old footage and referring to a time when I was living in excuse me, in East Africa, in Tanzania, southern Tanzania, the Selous Game Reserve. I mentioned earlier that we used to have elephant in camp 24 hours a day. In this particular camp I was running, Selous Safari Camp, used to be known as Mbuyuni, which means at the Baobab. Probably one of the happiest times of my life, living with baobabs in a camp called At the Baobab in Swahili, and having elephants the way I used to have elephants around me all the time. We had several bulls that lived in camp. There was old Alfred. He was a funny elephant. His nickname was Darth Vader. You could lie in bed and you could hear him approaching from 100 meters away because he had this, well, he had a respiratory problem. He also had a little bit of a kink in his trunk with a pretty big scar on it. And I don't know if that was the reason why he used to wheeze like an old man, but he used to breathe very heavily. Old Alfred. He was a bit testy, that one. He was the elephant that he used to have to protect from guests, or protect guests from him. I'll never forget, there was one day after the floods subsided. I was fascinated. Well, I still am. I'm fascinated with everything that Mother Nature produces. But I was fascinated with the aquatic life in both the river and the water holes and the mud wallows. And I built myself a fish tank to study all the aquatic life. And I was huddled over this little mud, it was in a sort of a sandy bowl, this little pool of water that had been left after the flood waters had subsided near the river. And it was quite deep, so crouching down with my little fish net, catching aquatic insects and tadpoles and fairy shrimp. My head was sort of level with the ground, so I couldn't see anything when I was huddled over the water, playing with like a kid, because I do. And the next minute I heard this heavy breathing behind my shoulder, and I obviously hadn't heard him coming. And he must have been coming to maybe have a drink there, and I looked over, and only a few feet away from me was old Alfred. And now I hadn't really ever been that close to old Alfred because he was a testy old bull, and we did keep our distance from him. But I didn't move. I just sat there and I greeted him and I spoke to him the way I used to do when he'd come around my tent at night. So he knew my voice. And he actually, for the first time, that was in about a year after I got there, for the first time in that first year, that he didn't throw his head at me, and he didn't trumpet, and he didn't stamp his feet, and he didn't sort of throw a tantrum. He lifted his head, looked down his nose at me, and almost as though he realized that he had made the mistake, and he turned around and he walked away. But that's not the one that Yvonne was referring to. Yvonne was referring to another elephant called Joseph, who was kind of like my best friend. I used to sit and chat to Joseph for hours on end. He'd come to my tent. Our tents were on decks, and mine was only a couple of feet off the ground. So even when I was sitting on my deck, I was still lower than even lower than his mouth, really. My deck was covered in plants because I used to grow trees, and the margarine we used to cook with and bake with came in little 1 kilogram tubs, and I used to use all those little 1 kilogram tubs as flower pots, as pots to grow my trees. And I'd sit around on my deck with all my trees around me, and I'd pick one up and I'd clean it off or just fiddle with it the way I do with miniature trees. And Joseph would come along quite often. Many times he would do this. He would come along and he'd sniff around all my little trees and he'd select the baobabs or the knobthorns. And I would be sitting in my chair, and as I mentioned it in the previous time, he had magnificent tusks. His tusks came out the front of his face, a huge tusks, bigger than any of the elephants you saw yesterday. And they curved around the front of his face. Beautiful big curves. Somewhere I've got a photograph of Joseph. I wish I had more. Let's try and find out. There were no digital cameras in those days. And there were times when he'd be sniffing over my little trees and I'd have to sit back because his tusks were practically in my face. I had to move away from them. And he would pick up one of my trees and I'd say, "No, Joseph, not that one, not that one." And he'd sort of look at me while he picked it up by the base of the tree with the little pot, and then he'd drop it at his feet and he'd stand on the pot and pluck the little tree out, and then while he would look at me and put it in his mouth and he'd eat it, as if to say, like, "You gonna stop me?" Buffalo was sleeping, yeah. Anyway, I suppose it's taken a long time to get to everyone's question, but that's just sometimes the way I am. I rattle on sometimes. But Yvonne was asking why didn't I touch him at those moments? Well, for one thing, Yvonne, that physical contact was fine for him to come close to me, but making physical contact might have changed everything about that moment. A moment when I am trusting an elephant and an elephant is trusting me, and that mutual trust is what allows us to sit quietly together. But to reach out and touch is breaking an unwritten rule. In nature, these things don't happen. In nature, you don't get a giraffe reaching forward to touch an elephant, even with its snout. Obviously, it's not going to do it with its paw, claw, foot, hoof, whatever. Animals don't touch each other. Animals don't break that cross-species, interspecies barrier unless it's an animal trying to catch another animal. And by trying to reach out and touch him could have changed his mood from... because he wouldn't have understood the fact that I'm trying to reach out and touch him. He would have maybe seen that as a threat. And with his tusks in my face, virtually, I mean, I'm talking about his tusks right here, where I could have just lifted my hand and touched him. Could have changed his mood and his perception of the trust between us, and he could have just moved his head, and that would have been me gone through a loop. So I didn't ever try. Only elephant I did touch when he couldn't see me was little Frank. It was a little elephant. Well, he wasn't so little. I mean, he was still about in his late teens. But it was a younger bull. He was just much smaller than Alfred and Joseph. But he was the third of the trio that practically lived in camp. And little Frank would also come to my tent. He wouldn't mess with my trees though. But he would sometimes on the one side of my tent, he'd try and squeeze between the bushes and the tent. And that would often give me an opportunity to just pick a piece of mud off of his back or something. And I did that a few times. Little Frank. Look at that stallion. It can only be a stallion the way that zebra's standing. So I'm going to just stop before we get closer. Oh, he's moved. He was just standing so proud. And just beautiful light. Let's get closer to him. Oh, was the other one. Okay, zebra. See you trying to hide. We'll leave you be for now. We're going to elephant anyway. There she is. Through a little gap. While you're watching zebra, I've got to put fluid in the clutch already. Tighten it so much. See how the zebra reacted to seeing me on foot. First she snorted. I snorted after that, trying to copy her, but she'd already bolted.
On Manuleti boundary, north of Big Dam, heading east.
East from Manuleti boundary. Doesn't help us. We want things to come south from there. That's lion tracks. There was a time I was up in Nairobi. Morning boys, some Impala rams here. These bachelor groups are going to start dissolving now. They're going to start getting more mixed herds of Impala. They'll be joining up with the females and the young again for a while until lambing season in November, then they'll split off again. During lambing season the males will break away. There's no real need to have separate bachelor herds at the moment. And they'll start joining up. Be a bit better to have more eyes and ears around. I just heard something. I think the babblers. A little group of babblers hopping around in the grass. I think that's what they heard. Let's move on. Up to Zoe's Road. There was a time I was up in Nairobi. This was during my time in Salou. I was recovering from an injury, and I met a very interesting lady who was recovering from an injury as well. This is a woman who raises elephants, spent all her life raising elephants. Her name is Daphne Sheldrick. She's in charge of the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. She is also behind the orphanage in Nairobi, the elephant orphanage, that is still very active. They still get finding elephants that are orphaned from poaching. And well, Daphne's pretty much not only pioneered but perfected the needs of, or the art of raising baby elephant, and understanding the needs of an elephant calf. And you have to imagine that elephants are on so much of a par with humans that young elephant babies, calves that are either newborns, even anything in their first year, they are as vulnerable as a child of the same age. They're highly vulnerable. They need not only the mother's milk, but they also need the bacteria and the antibodies that come with it. It looks like baby hippo tracks. Anyways, one of Daphne's very first elephants that she raised, an elephant by the name of Eleanor. I can't even remember where I think it was maybe in Amboseli that Eleanor then became a matriarch of her own herd. And Daphne would be able to go back into the wild, back into the bush, and call out this elephant who would come, leave the herd and come and talk to Daphne, and they had this incredible bond. And Daphne was saying there was one time, well, the cause of her injury was, she thought it was Eleanor. She was quite convinced it was Eleanor until she reached out to touch this elephant, and then that elephant reacted violently, swung around and actually threw her into a rock and broke her hip. Daphne is not a young lady. And I think that sort of emphasizes what I was saying, is that you can get to a point with an elephant, even if it wasn't Eleanor, or even if it was, I don't know, I still don't know to this day whether it was her elephant or not. Hello, white crown shrike. But just the fact that at one point the elephant, well, there was a point up until which that elephant was comfortable with having her there. But then making that physical contact changed the entire situation, and it turned into something that was almost fatal. If it hadn't been her hip and it had maybe been her head hitting that rock, it wouldn't have been the same outcome. Hello, Impala. There we go. Pretty much a mixed herd. In fact, there are more males than females in this group. Becky, I need to get that radio, please. Sorry. I need to mark these radios, which ones don't work properly. There's that little bow. I haven't seen him for a while. It's through the gap. Little ram that's got the really skew horns that we've called, well, I called him Bo. He's hiding now. Oh well. We know who this herd is now. This is the herd from the open area near camp, known as the open area near camp. Hello, Linda. Thank you for your question. Linda's referring to something that both Tara and I have talked about, and how a male elephant will rest his trunk on her spine prior to mating. Linda's saying, could this possibly be with all the muscles in the trunk to massage her and immobilize her by massaging her spine or something? And has anyone ever studied it? I think, Linda, if there was any information to suggest it, perhaps somebody would study it, but the very fact that the elephant cow keeps walking away and that it doesn't immobilize her, obviously, I don't know, to me means that maybe, well, it doesn't immobilize her, it does calm her down, I'm sure, and it is a gesture of tenderness, and it is meant to subdue her somewhat, but it doesn't make the muscles, it doesn't cause any immobility, because she will still carry on walking. She continues to be active. So I don't know, I'll look into it for you. I don't think so. Let's have a look at Gowrie Main quickly, and then we'll carry on up Zoe's Road. Just get an idea of what animals might have been moving around this part of the world. It's a very broad road, and it is our boundary, but it gives me an idea of what might have been moving up and down here. But nothing exciting, I'm afraid. Seen some hyena, and there's been a giraffe going the other way, and kudu coming this way. Okay, we got a little bit of clarification on our Jodies in New Mexico. Hello, Jody. Jody in Los Alamos. who's been with us for about 18 months, I think. Jody in Los Alamos, New Mexico. And then our newer Jody in New Mexico is from Albuquerque. How do we pronounce that? Albuquerque. Yes, that town. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Well, we've had lots of Debbies and Debras and Susies and Susans and Lises and Lises. Okay, let's look for these elephants. I don't know where they are. They might be. That's other side of Rebecca's Road. Hello, Jody. Oh, we got another Jody now, because this is what? Cajeras. What? No, I didn't get that town. Tijeras. New Mexico. Okay, can a lion kill an adult rhino? Don't think so. I don't know if there's ever a record of it. Lion can overwhelm elephant, but I don't think elephant are as tough as rhino. I don't know, Jody. Don't think so. I don't know if there's ever been record of it. Tijeras. Don't know. Anyone at Mpisi Kaya? Come back to this hyena then. Look for elephants first. Been buffalo here. Numerous buffalo. heard a while ago that there were elephant on Zoe's Road. By now they could be anywhere. They could even be at Gowrie Dam by now. Good morning, William. Do we have a problem with poachers? How do we keep them from doing their dirty work? Well, what we're doing right now is keeping poachers from doing their dirty work, William. We don't have a problem with them. On the edge of the reserve occasionally, there are incidents of subsistence poaching, taking antelope or small antelope or warthog for the pot, not necessarily for financial gain. Nice group of zebra here. Wow. But we are coming back this way. Perhaps. Just want to go further. Oh, this is nice actually. The dazzle of zebra here. Relax, children. But the fact that there are so many game drive vehicles out at any one time, and the roads are so full of vehicle tracks, is enough of a deterrent to poachers, because they're not going to come to an area that has such a road network that they're going to be able to, well, they're going to be found very quickly. We are constantly looking at the roads, all of us that drive around. It's how we find animals. It's how we know where animals are. If we didn't look around or look at the tracks, we wouldn't be able to get any idea of what's moving around. And poachers are they're gonna go to areas where they're far from roads and where they can move around without their tracks being seen, without their activity being heard even. I mean, if poachers, it's just also most of the villages close by to the reserve are villages that have people working in the reserve. Most of the people that live in these villages are not going to come poaching. It's not in their nature. But even so, they look at an area like this and see all of this activity. Vehicle activity. They're not even going to try anything if anybody does come. But also the Sabi San has a very good security force. Not like Kruger. Kruger, there's a problem with poaching, and I can't tell you what's done in Kruger. I don't know what they do in Kruger. I know the military has been employed to help with the rhino poaching, but it's not doing anything. There's still too many rhino being poached. There have been several rhino poached. I see elephant way up ahead through the trees. More zebra through the trees. Sabi Sand, just too much activity for poachers to come in. Plus, all the guides drive around with rifles. So that in itself is a deterrent. Hello, elephant. Oh, there's a nice big bull. See if we can get to see him. I'm guessing that maybe the family group that was seen have moved on. I don't know if they were in the same place. It didn't sound like they were in the same place. bull reminds me of Joseph, the one I was telling you about earlier. Joseph had similar tusks, a little bit bigger, a little bit more of a curve, but almost the same, funny enough. He's not really being very accommodating. He doesn't like us crashing through dead trees like this.
Coming along the area of the cut line,
Morning, Squire. Broken left tusk. Hello, zebra. Uh-huh. Digging for roots or something. He's so busy, he's not really concerned about us. Not the greatest view of him as yet, but hopefully that will change. There's a tree trunk. Maybe we can just drive over it. Hidden fallen tree. Hello, zebra. Andy, morning to you. That's a new name. Hello, Andy. Wanting to know why poachers kill elephants, see no gain. Unfortunately, Andy, the tusks of an elephant are ivory, and there is a huge black market for ivory. Humans have put financial value on the strangest things, and the harder it is to come by these things, the more. Sorry, boy. Sorry. Okay. See what I'm doing is I'm trying to squeeze through here just to get a nice view of him, and I think that just was not. Well, he didn't want me to do that. So I'll just stop here for now. But just for those teeth, Andy, those two teeth, the two incisors of an elephant that we call tusks. That is why humans hunt elephants, poach. The a couple of countries. I mean, Japan for one. Japan, evidently, ivory is used for the family crest, for a stamp, for a wax stamp. There's a demand for it there. I'm not too sure where else ivory is in such demand, but it's cut into blocks. I mean, most animals that are poached for some part of are poached because of a demand in the Far East. I mean, most of it is China. Japan, a little bit more conscientious about things. But I do know that there is a demand for ivory for a stamp. I don't know what else. But tigers, bears, elephant, rhino. I mean, the Asian bear has pretty much been wiped out because of the demand for gallbladders and testicles. For whatever reason, it's impossible to try and rationalize why humans do what humans do. Anyways, he's chewing on the bark of that round leaf teak that he's picked. I think it's round leaf teak, looks like it. Could be. And there's some more just in front of us, so he'll probably make his way to this other round leaf teak on behind the bush in front of us. Who was that? Someone was asking, elephants get colds and sneeze like we do. I would imagine that they would get some sort of infection. I don't know about sneezing. I mean, I imagine so. I mean, every animal sneezes. Sneezing is a body reaction to particles in the nose. I mean, elephant, to some extent, most of their nose, they have to resist. Has to be some resistance to the body reacting to it because the way they suck up water and dust and things. Wow, he's a nice bull, this. Making his way to this other round leaf teak that I was thinking of. See if we can maybe go around. He's going to feed on a few leaves. And then he'll get back to the bark of some of the teak. Well, Leanne. Hello, Leanne. Leanne. Asking about them catching cold. Will their nose run if they catch cold? Well, I've seen an elephant nose running. Can't say I've ever seen an elephant sneeze. I've seen other animals sneezing. Got a very healthy bunch of hair on his tail. You don't often get a big bull that's got so much hair on his tail. They lose that hair a lot. Depends on how active they are with their tail. But it's also genetic. And you can actually identify elephants just by the hairs on the tail. We've seen some elephants who are practically bald at the tip of their tail. He's quite hirsute. Back to the teak. And he grabs it and he'll kick it at the base. He wants to break it off as low as possible so that he can have this long stem to chew the bark off. And I'm going to move a little bit for Becky just to make it a bit easier to the angle to view him. Because he's going to move on to that other teak as well. Hello, Drongo. You can see the sort of russet brown leaves of the teak as the leaves start drying up. Now these would normally grow into a big tree. Magnificent trees, some of these round leaf teaks, when they can, but in places like this where elephant utilize them a lot and they eat in particular the bark of these small I wouldn't call them saplings. It's just recoppicing. They're constantly breaking. So the base of these trees actually could be quite big. But since they come and feed on them every year to get to the bark, they just keep recoppicing every year, and so just keep producing the same sort of food source. And he's breaking them off at the base. He puts them in his mouth, and it's like a conveyor belt. He starts at one end, and as he chews, he twists it in his mouth, and it comes out the other end debarked. And he'll stop chewing when it gets to where it starts branching out to the leaves. Can't really see it because he's got his head hidden amongst it at the moment. Come out so I can take a photo of you, old man. Morning, Brian. Brian's asking if there are any plants here that are poisonous or indigestible to elephants. I guess, Brian, we could add to that maybe unpalatable. We don't have any, excuse me, in the immediate vicinity. We've got the zebra following us, 2 zebra that are following us. Wow, that break in his tusk, that must have hurt, because that looks like it would have hit root material. It's quite close to the jaw. Can we zoom quite close to your... If you look, you can probably see into the middle of into the center of that tusk where there was probably once nerves. You see, if they break a tusk further down, yeah, you see it's a little bit hollow there. And just by the way, how dark it is, he must have been pushing that into... He must have been pushing that into the ground and mud and that a lot. Probably the nerve's dead now, but it's like, guys, if you break the tip of your tooth, you don't feel it, but if you break the tooth lower down where it's the hollow part where there's nerves and stuff, then you're gonna feel it. He would have felt that. Wow. Tara, did you see this bull yesterday? Anyways. Not one of the 4 from yesterday, but a few days ago Tara was with this bull following females. Talk about sneezing. Brian, sorry, no question. Unpalatable, poisonous, or indigestible? Well, the one plant that I can think of is the euphorbia. Elephant won't touch a euphorbia. It's strange because black rhino will eat euphorbia. Well, some of the euphorbia species. I don't know, euphorbia is a very large group of plants. And one of the most common euphorbias that everybody knows is the poinsettia, which is a very common garden plant. Very pretty, very showy. Missed all that. Let me think. What else? What they don't feed? What don't they feed on here? I'm thinking these zebra are here because they're happy to be in the company of an elephant, because they know it's like me. You know, I'm happy if I'm sleeping out in the bush at night in like a little 2-man tent or under a mosquito net when I'm doing overnight walking safaris and things. If I've got elephants sleeping or even feeding in the vicinity, I know that I'm the safest human being on the planet. It's my security blanket, an elephant. When there's elephant around me, I know I'm one of the safest people on the planet. And nothing's going to get me then. And it's kind of like these zebra that are just behind us. I think they too feel a lot safer in the company of an elephant. Anyways, I digress. I'm trying to think what plants elephants don't eat. I mean, there are a bunch of bulbs that they probably don't eat because they might be poisonous. But other than that, I think almost every other plant here they utilize in some way. Either the leaf, the bark, the root, or the branches. There's one plant called a poison bush. I would imagine elephants don't utilize it. But you know, it's difficult to say because let me just see. This one's listed as poison briar bush. I just want to see if it's the same plant I'm thinking of. You know, the pavetta. It's not the one I'm thinking of, but this pavetta does affect domestic animals. Might affect elephant, I don't know. But there's another bush called a poison bush. It's very highly poisonous, but it is to humans. You know, the alkaloids in plants can be worse than some of the venoms of the snakes and scorpions and things, because they can be faster acting. And there's some plants that you can actually absorb through the skin, and they can be poisonous that way. But we don't have many that like that here. We don't. I can't think of anything. I would have to consider that and think carefully, Brian, of what plants an elephant might not eat here at Djuma, other than in a broader sense elsewhere. Moving his finished food out of the way to get to new food. Wraps it around his trunk and then gives it a tap with his foot to break it off at the base. Even holding at his mouth, holding the top end in his mouth and pulling. This tree at the moment, the round leaf teak, well, the reason why the leaves are turning brown and doing, not only because of the cold weather and the dry season on us, or rather it's because it's the dry season. This tree is actually withdrawing moisture and nutrients from the leaves, and that's why the bark is quite nutritious at the moment, because all of those nutrients are going down the bark back into the roots to be stored until the wet season. And elephant are accessing that at the moment. The time of the year when the bark of the round leaf teak is utilized quite heavily. Morning, Orbs. Fortunately, I can't give you an update. I don't know. Looking for one myself. Which station on Zoe's Road? Sean, I'm just west of you with an Ndlov if you're interested. Yeah, 100 yards. Okay, copied. Do you know where it is? No, I gotta go back, I think. Are you heading north at the moment? Yeah, you got to go back past that junction you just came from, back down south. Cross over that junction and then you get a road heading to the east just after that big junction.
Okay, thanks very much, sir.
Yeah, go.
Sorry, man, do you have some improvement?
Sorry, go again?
Did you locate on some improvement?
I only got a bull. I don't know where that Slumby is, and I'll look for them later, but I'm with the big bull at the moment.
Okay, copy. Are you on Zoe's road?
Yeah, affirmative.
Okay, copy. Can I come and join?
Yeah, sure. Are you on Zoe's?
No, negative. I'm still on Royal Access.
Okay, I should hear your mobile when you get close. Sandy, the incisors, the tusks are made of ivory. Are the other teeth made of ivory? Well, it's enamel, really. It's just tooth enamel. Because they grow out, it's called ivory. But no, you can't consider the molars as ivory. But it's the same substance, really. I don't know. The long incisors are known as ivory. Same as our teeth. I mean, it's really just enamel. But no, you couldn't really. I don't think you could really consider them. There's another elephant closer to Vertella Access Road. Just gonna move with him now. Maybe the zebra will let us look at them and get a really close up of a zebra, of a zebra's eye, perhaps. Hello, little boy zebra. Are you two boys, bachelors, hanging out with a bachelor elephant and a bachelor presenter? You're the odd one out, Becky. This is a boys' club. Rare insight into Hello, Davina. Very nice name. Got a very close friend with the name Davina. One of those special people in my life. Davina in Illinois, is it? Wanting to know if the broken tusk will grow back. No, it can't grow back, Davina. It's broken off. But it will continue to grow out. So in a year's time, we might see there'll be an extra inch of tusk, but it grows from the base. It grows from the back of the tooth. So that broken piece will grow out. It'll be further away from his lip in a year, 2 years. In 5 years' time, it'll be a few inches away. I think tusk grows about an inch a year or so. Let's keep up with him. can. So often we get zebra running away from us. I wonder if they feel more comfortable because we're with this elephant. I mean, they're right next to us now. Cheryl Ann, staying with the theme of poisonous plants and things. Do we get poison oak, poison ivy, poison sumac? No, we don't. None of those. We do, however, get a couple of plants that they don't cause a rash as such, like stinging, like poison ivy. We have like a stinging nettle type plant. We have a couple, but there's one small plant that grows in the open area that's like a stinging nettle. It'll sting it stings for maybe 15-20 minutes at the most, and then it goes away. Oh, he is a big elephant. Thank you, Bernice. Bernice in Vermont. So sending through information about uses of ivory. And yes, the 1980s saw the biggest decline in elephant populations. I remember, I got into the Selous Game Reserve in the mid to late 90s. And prior to the 1980s, there were 110,000 elephant in the Selous Game Reserve. By the time I got to the Selous Game Reserve, the population had been reduced to less than 30,000. And that's well over 70-something% of the elephant that had been poached. And yeah, from a population of 1-point-something million prior to the 80s down to 600,000 elephant in Africa, an approximate a time when elephant poaching was at its worst. I think that it was 1989 when Richard Leakey burnt that stockpile of ivory in Kenya. That tend to stem the tide a little bit. But I mean, ivory in history, ivory was used for piano keys. I mean, that is a given. That I'm sure everybody knows about. And with the ban in ivory, funnily enough, with climate change and things, permafrost was defrosting, was melting at such a rate that up in Siberia and in Russia, mammoth skeletons and tusks were being unearthed at an incredible rate, and that you can actually get stuff made out of mammoth ivory now. There are people doing carvings. But yeah, I mean, one of the biggest trade was the jewelry trade. Carvings and jewelry used to be a big trade back in prior to the 1980s. I can remember in the 80s even the curio shops in the lodges still used to sell ivory carvings before it became banned. Hello, zebra. No, it was me. Don't look behind you. It was me. Hello, peekaboo. Through the teak. But thanks, Bernice. I'll be very interested to read that when I get back. Bernice just sending some info on ivory. some more zebra coming closer now. Thank you, Linda. Great go-away bird calling down at the dam. I don't even know if it means anything. Could do, Linda. Could mean could mean there's a predator there. Whoever's a zoomie might be able to get a better idea of what might be around. Let's see. Where are you going, Mr. Ellie? Look at you from the front in this light. Wow, there's a nice shot of him. No shadows in the sunlight. Hello, Amber. How much can an elephant actually eat in a day? And how big do they get? They eat a lot, Amber, and they get very big. I don't know, there are figures in books about what's it, I don't know. I don't even know the figure. I've never really taken it with, I've always taken it with a pinch of salt. Elephants eat X number of kilograms a day, and they drink so many liters of water a day. And well, I've never really liked those kind of facts, because it's not like every single day an elephant sort of has X amount of food and it goes and it drinks a certain number of liters of water. But let's just put it this way, Amber. They eat constantly. They have to constantly be taking in food. And then they don't have the ability where they can stop and process the food the way rhino and hippo do, or the way the ruminants do, that can go and lie down and chew the cud. Elephants have a relatively poor digestive system, so they're constantly eating and they're constantly processing food. I mean, he's eaten several pounds worth of... Well, he actually hasn't eaten that much. He's been eating bark. The amount of bark that we've seen him eat doesn't really add up to that much weight at the moment. But he will then go on to eat lots of grass later today, perhaps, and he may go on to eat some of the branches of some of the other trees, like maybe marula, for the moisture. So it's difficult to give an amount of how much they eat, because it depends so much on what it is they're really eating. Oh, there's a big herd of elephant at the dam. Maybe we should go and find them. Leave this old man in peace. Go and spend the rest of the morning with the nice herd of ellies and their babies. He's a wonderful man, he's been really very accommodating. A nice big thick branch now. How big do they get? Well, big elephant bull up to 7,000 kilograms. Let's see if I can do a quick calculation in my head. Let me think. 7,000 kilograms equal. I'm just trying to think how. Accessing my memory banks. It's probably around 15,000, maybe 15,500 pounds for a very big bull. I'd say he's probably not much more than maybe 5,000 kilograms. Probably, what's that, maybe 11,000 pounds. 5 tons. He's a big ellie, but he's not, by no means a a giant, not as big as that one couple of bulls that I've seen recently, like Madolo or that other big bull that crossed the road in front of us a few months back. DJ Scott, Susie Cook and Frank also doing calculations there. Yeah, but you probably got converted. Oh, you know, they're just letting me know the elephants are down. I thought they were doing kilogram to pound conversions. Thanks everyone. We'll go and see if we can see those. I'm in a perfect position and you've got this. Let's see if I just go forward a little bit for you because of this bush that's in the way. We'll get it. Oh, sorry old man. Okay, relax dude, relax. You didn't like me starting up. You see, this is the problem with sometimes guides will start up when an elephant gets too close to them and they get worried about it. And I think that's why he got startled like that, because he thought that's what I was doing. I mean, I'm quite relaxed with him, but I think I kind of broke his trust there a little bit because I started up. I'll never start up to make an elephant move, but I think he's had that experience from somebody because he did. Sorry, old man. I really didn't mean to. I thought you were relaxed with us. I thought you were quite fine with the way things were going. Okay, should we go to the dam? Because who knows? There's still a leopard around. It might even be chased up by these elephants. Chased out of the bushes or something. Might get lucky. Thank you, Scott, in Illinois. 2.2 pounds per kilogram. I guess I always used to think it was 2.2 acres per hectare, but it's not, it's about 2.4. I don't know, go figure how the imperial system works. Metric decimal system, it's so easy. When you get to 10, it's called something else. Deca means 10, kilo means 1,000. 1 gram, 1,000 grams is 1 kilogram. That's decimal system. Never mind. Bye bye. Thanks, Mr. Ellie. Thank you, Zebra. I don't know, okay. Ellie's already heading down Central Road. I'm probably going to go to the big Jackalberry. be a while before I can get there though. Come Drongo, follow me. Diane and Shanae in New Zealand were asking a question earlier. Sorry I didn't get to that question because we were with elephants. Why we don't see any marabou stalks here at Djuma? Marabou, M-A-R-A-B-O-U, marabou, one of the largest stalks, and considered the undertaker of the bush, the marabou, on account of their habits of being scavengers. And there are a couple of reasons why we're not seeing marabou stalks here. We could do, I've seen marabou before, we've had marabou at Gowrie Dam before, not very often though, very seldom in fact. If we had a carcass, we're likely to get marabou. I'm surprised when we had that dead giraffe, I'm surprised there were no marabou then. But unfortunately, being the kind of scavengers that they are, they find easier pickings elsewhere, and well, the towns and cities around the edges of the reserve have rubbish dumps. Marabou spend a lot of time on these dumps. But there are also a couple of animal rehab centres, and one of the biggest is the Hoedspruit Endangered Cheetah, well, Endangered Species Project. And nowadays, hang on, let me just. The station's leaving Local 1 Madonna and Glove on Zoe's Road. He's moved quite deep into the bush. Also, I've just been told there's Slumby and Glove at Gowrie Dam. Thanks, Tech. On my way there. So these places like the Hoedspruit Endangered Species Project that feed a lot of wild dog and cheetah, they feed a lot of predators there. There are a lot of carcasses that get left there. There's Maholo Holo near the mountains where they have a vulture restaurant where a lot of marabous don't even leave that area anymore. They practically live there because carcasses are delivered there every day from farmers and things, and that is to assist vultures in gaining calcium, keep the calcium intake up. Looks like this tree was pushed over the road today. It's just been moved out of the way. 20 years ago, excuse me, 20 years ago, before these places existed, there were the vultures were everywhere. I mean, you'd look up in on any day in the sky, you'd see vultures circling, you'd see vultures flying. And nowadays, these birds know where to go to get an easy meal. So that's why we don't see them that often. We do when there's a big carcass, buffalo or giraffe. And you go. Where did I put my lens cloth? Yeah. That's quite strange. You go through a town like Nairobi, one of the main streets going through Nairobi from, say, Langata and Karen, suburbs in the west, when you're going to the eastern side of Nairobi through town to go towards JKIA, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. You go down this double lane road. It's not a highway, it's a double lane road because it's in the industrial area. And And there are all these lovely flame trees and I can't even remember what trees they are, most of them. I think mostly flame trees that line, not only line the streets, but they this huge line of these trees in the middle island between the two opposing traffic lanes. They are not littered, they're draped in marabou stalks. In fact, if you park at a traffic light for too long, you get marabou stalk poop all over your vehicle. And that is because of the slums and the amount of waste that humans produce. I suppose also because it's right next to Nairobi National Park, so they get the best of both worlds there. It's quite strange when you can be driving into town in Nairobi and have animals right next to you. I mean, wildlife is right there. When you fly into Nairobi, you fly in over Nairobi National Park. If you're flying into Wilson Airport, which is right next to Nairobi National Park, you come in and you've got the national park below you, and at the edge of the national park you've got the skyscrapers of Nairobi. It's quite bizarre. Anyway, lots of marabous. I will be on the lookout. I'm sure Taro too. Ooh, hello. There's a bustard. Where are you going? You were happy to stand there until I looked at you. Now you're running away. Chicken. Chicken. Pretty. She was pretty. Uh-huh. Never finished. But yes. Hello, Vivian. Thanks, Vivian. Vivian was sending us info on the commotion last night. And there was a Vero's eagle owl as well. Well, having not found any leopard tracks, I'm wondering if it wasn't the Vero's eagle owl that was preying on the guinea fowl. It was, yes, Vivian. The Vero's eagle owl will prey on guinea fowl at night. And other prey of the eagle owl would be scrub hares, rodents, small mammals. Might even take a genet. I've seen a picture of Vero's eagle owl on a genet kill. The elephant were busy here last night. We're going to go sort of through the lodge, take a shortcut, break the rules like I'm not supposed to really do this. And what I can show you, you know what, time to show you a flower. Oh no, we'll have to do it another time. Anyways, just quickly, that's the lodge entrance sign. This beautiful mosaic work that the lodge owner Pippa does all over the lodge. You got this really pretty mosaic work. She's a genius when it comes to the mosaic stuff. She's got a knack for being able to see what she wants it to look like before she does it. She has this image in her head, and it comes out remarkably well. No, it looks like they're busy down in the car park, so we'll come and have a look at that at another time. Hello, Lucas. Smile for the camera. Oh, it's Kenneth. Lucas. Smile, you're on candid camera. Anybody remember that from the 70s? We had a South African version. And that spawned a comedian that, there they go, you see them right up at the top there, Lilies, I mean. Vivian, you were saying that it looked like there was a cat that climbed the dead tree to take a guinea fowl. So there evidently was a cat. Hopefully we'll get a, like we had of the serval that was on the other side of the dam the other day. Hopefully we get a screenshot of it or a clip of it posted that we can look at. So, what's it, the third time we're crossing the dam wall this morning? Third time lucky. But Vivian, which tree was it that you saw something climbing? That's what I would like to know. A lot of impala tracks, fresh ones, going down below the dam wall. So I don't think there could be a cat down there. Monsieur Hippopotame. What we'll do is we'll go around to, I know they are up here, but some of them might have gone down to Gowrie Cutline already. Most of them are just east of us, these earlies. See if some have moved. Oh, I didn't see any leopard. Somebody said they saw a cat climbing in a tree, taking a guinea fowl or something. But no. With all the No, I saw them, thanks, Tara. I saw them when I was at the lodge. They're actually just left of us. I can see one even up on that marula tree. But I'm just going around to Gowrie Cutline because they do tend to move that way. So see if we can. It might be easier to go in from this side, but if they are moving that way, we might catch them coming out on Gowrie Cutline. They move. Thanks, Susie Cook. The impala tracks that I've just seen. Susie saying she saw those impala there about 20 minutes ago. They were quite calm. Boluses of rhino droppings in that midden. So I'm sure they're still down in the drainage line between here and Twin Dams Road where we saw them the other day. Waterbuck up on the left where I expect the elephant to come through. Following the ridge line. We'll just go back. See what I wanted to do was get into the front of the herd rather than going where I saw that elephant. That would be going in behind them rather than trying to get to the front of the herd, which is better. Guess I have no choice. through here yet. So they're moving more north than east now. Earlier I wanted to turn into the car park at the lodge. There is a flower there that I want to show the lady. Well, I want to show everybody. I want to show it to everybody, but I dedicate the flowers to the ladies. Some of the guys were getting upset that I wasn't thinking of them. Hello, Nook. Oh, tree trunk. Sickle bush tree trunk. Sickle bush. Anouk. Anouk, morning to you. Having mentioned human waste, garbage, wants to know what we do with it here. Well, most of it goes out garbage pickup like you get in the city. There is a pit, it is separated. Plastic and bottles and tins get shipped out. Paper stuff supposedly gets burnt. And food stuff gets sent out to a pig farm, as far as I know. Another tree trunk hidden under the grass. Look, I haven't heard from you for a while actually. Susie Cook, trying to get orientation. When looking at the dam wall, are you looking south? When you're looking from the camera, when you're looking, yes, Susie, when you're looking at the dam wall closest to the camera, where you go onto the dam wall. In other words, when you're looking at that T-junction down Twin Dams Road, that's looking south. When you're looking across to the other side of the dam wall, to maybe where these elephants were going, that's sort of looking more east. When you look up the dam, it's looking north. When you're looking sort of straight across the dam wall, it's looking more or less northeast. Oops. Sorry, spider. Pretty dense in here. I don't even know if we're going to find them. Should have just turned in when I saw that one. But they can't. They must be just here somewhere. Old tire tracks, yeah. Going to change batteries quickly. Dead tree here we can go over. Like teacher's nails on a chalkboard. Sure, it's suddenly getting warm. Miss Chris asking about a video sent through to us. Unfortunately, I didn't see that, Chris. Okay, see what I did is I tried to guess where they're going to be and take a shortcut through the bush. And gonna get so caught up in this thick stuff now. No sign of elephant. Miss Chris saying she sent a video through of some men stealing buffalo meat from lion. I think it's caught in that. Wants to know stupidity or bravery? Stealing meat from lion, buffalo meat from lion with only spears. Spears, I guess that must be Maasai. Well, it is a bit of I wouldn't say it's stupidity, it's a bit of bravery. I mean, humans have been doing that for millions of years. I've done it. I've chased lion from a kill to steal parts of the kill. I wouldn't say it's stupidity, it's just it's competition. It's how humans, probably how we went from eating insects to eating meat, stealing meat from predators. Okay, it's time to stop and listen. I might have even come in too far north of them. I think we've come right around them. I mean, we went this way, we'd come straight out at the dam. I think we've actually gone right around them. I tried to guess and get in front of them, and the only choice is in the last moments of our drive, maybe just to try and catch up with the end of them. Hello Shireen, what does our specific job entail? What is the title? Let me see, we just have to lift this branch. We are coming out on the other side of the dam. That's how far I've gone. Becky gets a bit of an upper body workout this morning. Shireen, our job entails being part of Wild Earth Safari as presenters. This is Tara. I'm just talking about Tara and myself now, and not the rest of the crew. I shall only talk about our positions. There's an elephant ahead of us. I think I might just have managed to get around the front. Shireen, my title is presenter for the Wild Earth Safari. Used to be cameraman person too, but I no longer work on the camera. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Squeeze through here. Ow, 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 ow. The ruler branches have been broken off here by elephants. So we've got a female in front of us. So we might just have managed to make it in front of this herd. There's a baby. Doesn't like the crunching of sticks, but it won't run far. Run back to mom eventually. Okay, I'm fine. I'm stopping. She's also chewing the bark off of the round leaf teak. Most of the elephants are going to be feeding like this at the moment, getting to the bark. Excuse me a moment.
Just Katla, north of Papa House, that Karaman, west of
Okay, not concerned with what they have there because it's out of our area. But just to let you know, they do have cheetah on another part of the world. Okay, now that she might have calmed down a little bit, let's try and move again. She's got a very young calf with her. Shireen, yes, so what does our job entail? Well, we present safaris, as you see us doing now. Hello little one, here's a little one, also chewing on round leaf teak, coming towards us. Another youngster of this cow, perhaps. But we have a bunch of other stuff that we do back at camp, what we call post-production stuff. What we're doing now is we're producing it. We have some work to do to write scripts and do voiceovers, and camera people do editing. And we produce things. I would consider myself a naturalist. I'm not an academic. I haven't. Tara's got a degree. She's more academically, got more of an academic background. But I'd let Tara it herself rather than me. The elephants are not happy with that, I don't think, moving away. There's only a small group of them. I don't know where the rest of them are gone. But I'm not, maybe we can, there's not much of a gap to see them, and just judging by their behavior with driving over broken sticks and things, I think I'll leave her be. Just moves away from us, not as accommodating as that bull was this morning. It really was a fairly large herd, and I'm only seeing 3 or 4 now. Oh, there's another one. By the time we catch up to them, they're going to be out on Garikata on the road I was looking for them on. Hello, elephant. Another female with the calf. See if we can talk to her. Whole family group here. No, also don't want to talk to us. Now we can see that calf is so small, it's hidden by the grasses. Tiny little thing, only a few months old maybe. Maybe 6 months. Trunk use is a bit more advanced than only a few months old. Seems to be a little bit more competent with its trunk than a newborn. Hard to tell from this distance. Okay, let's get out of here. Evidently a big tusker at the dam. So by the time I get out of here, he'll be gone. This herd is quite well spread out. There's a youngster now, one of the teenagers, lagging behind. Hello, little one. You'll talk to us, won't you? We're still managing to find ourselves surrounded by elephant, even if we can't see all of them. I can hear some of them now. Hey, little boy. Only about a 12-year-old. Probably only just going through puberty. 10 or 12 around there. Not gonna make it to the dam. That big bull. I'll have to see him on the Djuma waterhole cam. Okay, we're nearly ready to sign off, but actually, I think just stay with me. I'll just run a few minutes late, just so that I can get to that big bull. And we're going to say goodbye at the dam. I'm going to say goodbye to you from here and probably wave at the camera at the same time. I don't know if that's going to be possible. I'm going to certainly try. Through the potato bush on the right. things are hidden in these dry grasses. Just get a tiny stick sticking up, and it might be a bigger root base of a tree being pushed over. But well, we made it out of there, and it'd be a miracle if I don't have to change a tire today after all that zebra wood and monkey orange hazel bush. So where's this big one? Rougher and rougher, this crossing. Oh, all up there, up at the lodge. Well, at least we get to say goodbye to them. Bunch of bulls up at the top in front of room 1. Wow. Now, I would love to be the guest in room 1. Come home from drive, and you get to your room, and you've just got this in front of you. Let's see if we can just get maybe here, Becky. To say goodbye to you, to say goodbye to them, to say goodbye to Hippo, everybody. Just want to look at a flower quickly. I don't suppose you can see it. No. Drove. Seats in the way.
Oh, yeah, if you squish it down.
Squish it down.
Yeah.
Okay. A flower to say goodbye. And, well, it's time, I'm afraid. Got it? One of the hibiscus family. Cotton. One of the mallow family. Malvasia. Bye, elephants. See you later. Bye, everybody on Waterhole Cam. If you may be looking here, probably looking at the elephants anyway. Bye, everybody on the planet Earth. Join our planet again one of these days. Like today at 3:30 Central African time. Hope you will. My name is Mark. Becky's been on camera. I've had a lovely morning. It's warming up nicely. It's going to be a lovely day today. Flies are out already. I know it's going to be a hot day when the flies are busy. Thank you. From all of us here at Wild Earth Safari, thanks for being part of us. And we'll see you later. Bye. Go away, fly. Fly away. Fly before I make you walk.
Hello everybody, Hello everybody. Hello everybody, this is Tara Final Control, and thank you very much for joining us here on Wild Earth, and hopefully Mark will be able to catch up with some more elephants, and who knows what else we'll be